Hello, everyone. I'm Sign1News anchor Martha Anger. Here's a quick look at the top trending stories making headlines today. If you post an interesting comment about this update, we may add it at the bottom of the screen. The world paid its final respects to Queen Elizabeth II today. All of London was shut down for the Queen's funeral at Westminster Abbey. 2,000 people packed the cathedral, including the royal family and nearly 500 leaders from around the world. All of the details of the funeral were planned out by the Queen herself before she died. After the funeral, her casket was carried through the streets of London to Windsor Castle, where she will be buried next to her husband, Prince Philip. If you would like to see the Queen's funeral in its entirety, with sign language commentary provided by Sign1News international anchor Vanessa Paloma Bajarnik, head to the Sign1News website or download the app. Hurricane Fiona made landfall in the Dominican Republic early this morning. It came on shore as a Category 1 storm with maximum sustained winds of 90 miles per hour. But as the storm is moving slowly to the northwest, it is still dropping flooding rain on Puerto Rico. So far, there has been one reported death. According to the National Hurricane Center, Puerto Rico is seeing catastrophic flooding. Parts of Puerto Rico could see up to 30 inches of rain by the time the storm is over. And making matters worse, 1.4 million people are without power. That means millions of people are trying to deal with the threat of flooding in the dark. Will President Joe Biden run for president again? In an interview that aired Sunday on CBS, he says it's much too early to make that decision. He said it is his intention to run again, but he has not made a firm decision yet. Biden's advisors expect him to talk about another presidential run with his family over the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, with the hopes he'll announce his decision early in the new year. TikTok is well known for its viral dance videos, but the app is now becoming popular for something a bit more useful. It is being used as a search engine, especially among young people who are drawn to seeing real people delivering information as opposed to text on a website. Some even call it Google for Gen Z. Google remains the world's most used search engine, but the company does acknowledge TikTok appeals to younger generations. And it's even embracing the trend, to an extent. In the past few years, some of Google's search results have featured TikTok videos as well as YouTube Shorts, which features videos less than a minute long. If you've watched Sign1News long enough, you already know many of our anchors are big fans of tattoos. Well, did you know getting a tattoo could be as simple as putting on a Band-Aid in the future? Scientists at Georgia Tech say they have developed a self-applied tattoo patch. So instead of using large needles, the patch uses micro needles made of tattoo ink. The needles are arranged in a specific picture or pattern using different ink colors The patch is then pressed onto the skin. After a few minutes, the needles dissolve and the pattern remains. Researchers say the technique is low cost, painless, and they say there's no bleeding. However, if you change your mind, you're still stuck with the tattoo. The ink is permanent. Oh, and listen to this. The patches could also be used to encode information onto the skin for medical alerts and even on pets for identification. Wow. Cool. Me personally, though, I still prefer the old tattoo. I love the pain. The curtain is closing on the longest running show in Broadway history. The New York Times reports Andrew Lloyd Webber's The Phantom of the Opera is ending February 18th, 2023. Producers say it can't keep up with weekly running costs since returning from the pandemic. The Phantom of the Opera won 7 Tony Awards in 1988, including Best Musical. It's about a mask-wearing opera lover who falls in love with a young soprano at the Paris Opera House. In its 35 years on Broadway, it has been seen by nearly 20 million people and grossed $1.3 billion. Even though the show is closing in America, Phantom of the Opera will continue production in London and Australia. And a Mandarin version of the show is also set to open in China next year. You may be looking at the beginning of a beautiful interspecies relationship between an otter and an ape. At a zoo in Chicago, a curious 10-month-old otter climbed out of the water, climbed up a nearby treetop, and went straight to an 8-year-old male gibbon, a small ape. The otter began sniffing the ape's underarm area, pecking and kissing it, and was particularly intrigued by the ape's feet. The zoo director says this kind of intermingling of species probably wouldn't happen in the wild because other species represent a threat. But this is proof that different species, and honestly people too, can live peacefully together when placed in the right environment. Sign1News will be broadcasting updates Monday through Friday. And guess what? The entire Sign1News Saturday virtual show team is back this Saturday, September 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to join us to see all of the amazing things we've done this summer. A big thank you to our Sign1News app supporters. You help make this broadcast happen. You can download the Sign1News app by heading to the App Store or Google Play Store on your smartphone, and you can also watch on Apple TV, Amazon, and Roku.